Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and happy Halloween. This is the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary. I am your host and superior web headmaster, Jarod Bachman-Stubbs, and we are here to talk about it's a Marvel show, so it's like probably just one season. But the first season, maybe, of Agatha All Along. This is part of basically a 3-part spooktacular here at the Nerd Academy podcast and at the Bombadcast. If you guys saw already in our YouTube feed, it's not going to release in the podcast feed, but on YouTube, you can go ahead and check out a sampling of our Patreon versus series. We had special guest Scotty J. Rowe on the show to do Darth Plagueis versus the Stranger from the Acolyte, a battle between the mad scientist and the supernatural Sith Lord Slasher. And we had a lot of time talking about that, or had a lot of fun with that one. Had a lot of time. It is a long one, though. So once you're done watching this, you can hop on over to the YouTube feed or scroll back a little bit and find The Stranger versus Darth Plagueis and watch that. And then tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be on the Bombadcast for their annual Star Wars Creepypasta Halloween special. This is the first year I've actually submitted a story, so I'm very excited about that. I wrote one called The Chill. It's kind of like a psychological thriller that gets pretty gruesome at points, so hope you guys join us over there as well for Bombad Creepypasta. But I am not alone. I have a guest. I am not just speaking into the void this time around. I am joined by my kindred spirit. We just co-host each other's shows now because the other people we work with just aren't available anymore. It's Mitch from the Comic Book Cast and Mitch692.
Hi.
The pro himself.
Mm-hmm. With the noob. I don't know which way I can point to anymore.
Okay, if you're in the host spot, point to your left. If you're in the co-host spot, point to your right.
Am I pointing at you
That's
now?
me. Yeah, you are. You're covered. Your hand's covered by the little nameplate, but you were pointing in the right direction.
See, do you know what's really weird? The entire time we've done Pro and Noob, which Mitch692 channel, check it out. I've been having to point at my microphone to point to you, which is the opposite direction. But on the new one you just sent me for Thrice, I pointed that way and I'm pointing at you.
You may have changed the setting where you accidentally mirrored your camera.
No, I ain't touched it. Shite.
Huh.
Because I literally, while I was waiting for this man to wake up for the last hour.
I slept in a little bit, okay, guys?
He was awake. He went back to sleep. He was
I accidentally got a little too comfy and nodded off. I'm just a little guy, okay? I am just a little guy who loves a pillow and a blanket, okay?
Who doesn't? No judgment. Exactly. But I said half an hour and it was an hour, so. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I edited Pro and Noob a little bit, and I was like, I'm facing the wrong way. What's going on here? But,
that's so weird.
But happy Dan to Dan Thursday for those who celebrate.
Happy what?
Dan to Dan. It's like the hottest anime out right now.
Okay.
It's really we're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch it.
I'm sure we will. But if you're feeling a little scared like I am about the prospect of a new anime that Mitch sounds a little too excited to show you, and you want to take the edge off a little bit, you guys can get your hands on Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the drill. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement on the Witch's Road, and has their award-winning spicy Caesar mix, my personal favorite, as well as their mild and traditional mixes. If the spice ain't for you, you can also get your hands on some pickled dilly beans, okra, and asparagus. Also, award winners. And get your freak on and salt that rim with their Sunday's Bloody Mary Sunday's Bloody Mary brand rim salt if you're feeling freaky. As I've said more times than I could possibly count, as a former bartender, my favorite type of bloody was one made fully from scratch until Sundays came into my life, and now it is the only Bloody Mary I like to have. So use the link in the description down below. Use the code TNAP, TNAP at checkout to get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. So, Mitch,
before you start,
yes.
Did you hear what you said in that?
What?
Assault the rim.
And salt the rim.
Yeah, but the way you said it sounded like assault the rim. I was like, this man, he's a proper degen. He doesn't fully realize it yet, but it's going to slowly keep coming out.
Mitch, I want you to know that I think you have the record for eliciting this clip earlier and earlier and every time I talk to you.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
Only dubs on this side of the Nerdy podcast.
Only dubs. Only dubs. Mitch's biggest dub is knowing how quickly he can get me to play. Maybe I'll walk out here tomorrow and you'll never see me again.
I just take that as I know he's right and I have nothing to come back to it.
See, here's the nice thing. When I record this early after waking up, that's when my Alex Jones voice is at its best. Because I still got some of that in my throat. So get some of that really good. Yeah.
Assaulting rims and this, right?
Okay. All right. Fucking God.
The Dark Jedi on OnlyFans. Gonna get those armpits out again.
Again, I'm not Joe Organa. I'm not Joe Organa. People are not coming for my armpits.
Oh, you should put them out there, Jarod. You know.
Oh,
if you put the armpits out there, I'll put the feet out there.
My armpits are out there.
Yeah, but you're making money off of it.
No, but I wore a Nerd Academy brand tank top from our student store TeePublic on the infamous proto epic confrontation.
Nice.
Because I was Spencer and I'm like, we're a Nerd Academy stuff, represent the team, and I was like, I went the closest I could go to looking like a pro wrestler, so I wore a tank top instead of a t-shirt.
I respect.
I mean, let me know how that went. But lives in infamy. But Agatha All Along. This was one I didn't know what to expect from it. I think I watched the first trailer and went, seems cool, and I think I gave up on marketing for this show faster than I gave up on marketing for any other property recently.
The marketing for this show was fucking hilarious.
It
was so good. Not even
beyond
what they necessarily did, but the reaction to everything. It's like, you people are so dumb.
Because, obviously there was the psyop with all the name changes. Which I think maybe one or two of those was legit. And then everybody on the internet went, why won't they stop changing the name? And then... Because the first few made sense. Because it was like Agatha Coven of Chaos.
I mean, they made sense.
And then House of Harkness. And then they just got fucking ridiculous.
It's the fact that people genuinely believe the Lying Witch and the Great Wardrobe. Like, that's not a real title, people. It's the day before D23. It's not a real title. There's zero chance. It's been literally a joke all along. Because the name of the show was just Agatha all along.
Yeah. And I like that a lot. I will say, a lot of the marketing lent itself really well to Agatha's characterization. You know, like there are in the way that there are bits of truth about how well some of those titles could have worked. Like Coven of Chaos, good. Like I like based on what we get in the show, that title would have worked. House of Harkness, like, you know, what we realize by the end of the show, spoilers, is like how much of Agatha's infamy is based around, you know, her family of two that was tragically reduced to one. You know, so like a lot of that works. And I think once we hit the like Agatha, the lying witch in a great wardrobe, like once we hit something as silly as that, like at that point you realize, oh no, this is like in a very meta way, it is Agatha trolling us and fucking with us. And I think I just have to say up top, I think the only moment of trepidation I had about this show was I was curious to see if they could make an entire season of television around this character. Because, you know, because again, we only get like true Catherine Hahn as the evil Agatha Harkness for like what, 3 of the 8 episodes of WandaVision?
Maybe. I haven't watched it in a while, so I'm not
Like the
100%
very like
sure.
it's like the very end of the 3rd episode, and then like the rest of it is all evil Agatha. And obviously Catherine Hahn is, you know, just manhandling the spotlight and, you know, soars so much in WandaVision, but it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, can you build something around just this character?
Yeah.
Is that possible? Because, you know, I think you do run the risk with lesser writers and a lesser director and a lesser showrunner that it is kind of like, you know, how many times can we come back to, you know, and I killed Sparky too, type characterization. And I think they did it phenomenally well. I think they also managed to humanize Agatha without taking away her edge either.
No, I agree.
Which I was very impressed by. You know, like once we get to this final episode, and I must say, one of those reasons why I think the show worked for me is that the last few episodes felt like they were paced like the Fear Street movies. I don't know if you've seen them, Mitch, on Netflix. That little trilogy. They're great. They're my favorite movies to watch at Halloween time, and I can't recommend them enough. But the way they are paced. So there's like the first movie takes place in I think it's 1994. I want to say, I don't remember. Pardon my hiccups. It was 1994, and then it flashes back to the 70s for a prequel. And then by the end of the 1970s movie, it flashes us back to the present day with 94. And then there's a development at the end of the second movie in the 1994 time chunk that sends us all the way back to 1666. And then we spend the first half of the film like getting the origins of everything that has happened. And then it throws us all the way back to the present day in 1994 to then finish the story. And like truly like the first half of the finale felt so much like that Fear Street, you know, throw it all the way back to the origins of everything, and it has to do with like, you know, the witchcraft and the persecution of those people, and I found it incredibly compelling, and I was very impressed that they were able to make Agatha such a sympathetic character while maintaining what makes her her. You know, that like when she comes back as a ghost, like you know, she does not become this like wizened, you know, softened Obi-Wan Kenobi figure. Like she's still a piece of shit.
She's still Agatha, yeah.
She's still Agatha. She's still Agatha. We just understand her better. And I think, as I said, I think that there was a decent chance that she loses some of that, you know, deliciously devious edge. And they didn't. And that's just something I wanted to say up top. I was very impressed by seeing just how well they were able to truly capture lightning in a bottle with this character and maintain the momentum of how much of a scene stealer she was in WandaVision. And Mitch, as a fellow WandaVision stan, I want to get some of your thoughts on that. and what you
I had zero doubts. I am very much on the record for this show that the minute it was announced, it was going to be one of the best things I've ever done. From the jump. Part of that's because it's the Maximoff stuff, right? It's the best part of the MCU. I will fight anyone on that. Secondly, it was the same people coming back. It's like, well, WandaVision was WandaVision, right? Like, why would I expect anything different? Then the show comes out, we hit the finale. It's just like, cool. They clearly learned everything from WandaVision, like the mistakes that show made towards the end. Whether that was their fault or not is a different question, because obviously COVID was the thing. So it felt like they were making up for that here. Like the whole Rio death and Agatha, that whole scene, fantastic. But no, I loved it from start to finish. I don't think there was a single bad thing about this show. And I look forward to Vision Quest, because clearly that's the third part of this Wonder trilogy.
I mean, one could make an argument that it's a tetralogy.
Sure, Wonder Man.
I would have said Multiverse of Madness. You know, like if you're talking television,
sure, yeah. I was
television
speaking more
exclusively,
yeah.
If we're talking like Marvel TV exclusively, then yeah, you're right. But like, I really did love it, and I must say, like, you know, I thought the reality warping, what you're seeing is not necessarily what you're getting of it all, was gonna be limited to the first episode. Like, I remember getting so excited because I heard, I can't remember the name of the book, but they were like, whenever Agatha is in her, like, you know, cliche detective bag, that was the first time she says the name of the book that was checked out by her Jane Doe. And it's like, you know, dialectical something something AR of the, you know, H of O and L and D. And I remember I heard her say it out loud, and I looked at Taylor. I said, "Fucking Darkhold," and she said, "What?" I said, "Darkhold." And she just looked at me like I was crazy for a minute, and then you see the name on the library invoice, and she goes, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, Schaefer's cooking again. Jack Schaefer is cooking again.
And we can't let Jarod have a Mephisto moment again. We just
no. Taylor gave me a cheeky little side eye whenever Jen's like, "Agent of Mephisto," and I was like, "Shut up."
It's okay. He's an Ironheart. It's fine.
Yeah. But no, I did like I was so surprised by, like, because we get so much on the road. There's so much compelling character development that happens on the road. So many incredibly fun set pieces that when we get to the penultimate episode and Billy has that revelation, the very, very Kaiser Soze revelation about the nature of the road. I was stunned. Like, because there were a couple times where I was questioning whether or not Agatha had ever actually walked the road.
See, I didn't. I never had that thought.
Her reactions to a couple things, I was like, I don't think Agatha actually did it, or she didn't actually pull it off. There's going to be some caveat attached to how she did it that basically makes it so that it doesn't count, but, you know, she got through on a technicality. And that's where I was leading. And then we get that moment where Rio, like, walks into the horizon, very much like, you know, Watch Pro and Noob, like a very similar effect to whenever that fight in Thrice Upon a Life, or Thrice Upon a Time, whatever the fuck it's called.
Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time. Sorry, Shin Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time. You're welcome.
It's very similar to that moment where we as the viewer realize they're back to the soundstage when Shinji is leaning up against the sky and it's creasing around his body, Ava's body, where she, like, cuts that hole. And immediately I'm like, do not jump to a conclusion. I was like, for all we know, this is just some really cool, like, presentation of how she teleports. You know, in the same way we see Clea do that in the Multiverse of Madness post credit, where she just kind of like, you know, like draws a blade and like cuts a hole in reality and then rips it open, and then they're like, okay, let's jump into the dark dimension to fight Dormammu. I was like, okay, that does not necessarily mean the road is fake, because we've seen people teleport like this before. But holy shit, this is not looking good. And, you know, and it's another thing that I love, like, and this is such a stupid specific thing, but I must say, like, I love credit sequences that like act as clues so much. That shit makes my brain tingle so fucking much. Because again, Fear Street does it where they kind of do like a rundown of like all of the killers that have ever occupied this town and all the things they've done. Taylor and I a couple weeks ago watched Malignant for the first time, which could not recommend enough. A wonderful time with that movie. But again, like the entire like opening credit sequence are like flashes and like, you know, like really harsh editing to obscure it. But so much of it is like, I'm sure if we paused the movie for like every like document that hit the screen, we would have figured it out before the end of the film. And I love shit like that. I love shit like that. I love that little teeing up of whatever. And I remember like going into these final episodes, you know, like being able to fully appreciate like what each like actor title card, you know, especially because especially once we get the full coven in there, you know, that it you know, it actually fills out because they don't put everybody's name in there if they're not in the episode. And it really the way that they really did tease so much of what is real and what isn't is very clever. It's very clever. And I think that one of the most subtle elements of that is the amount of like witches in pop culture that is featured inside of those credits, because it does lend it, because again, because if you clock like, because like, yeah, like Agatha shows up as that green witch, you know, oh, I inspired her, you know, okay, like that makes sense. She is the wickedest witch in the show. Fine, cool, makes sense. But like when you get to the other shit, like that gif of the witch in Snow White, you know, that people use all the time for going going down into that little like pull out you know, trap floor, or like that little spliced in moment from The Craft, or Lisa Simpson as a witch, that it's very, it's I remember seeing that and I'm like, that's so fucking weird that that's here.
Yeah, man. No,
And every time I saw it, I'm like, it's so weird and it feels a little navel gazy, you know, because it's on Disney Plus. So hey, look, it's Snow White. Look, oh hey, go watch
all the things we own. Like,
yeah, and I'm like, you know, I'm sure they own The Craft at this point too. So I'm like, it's really weird that like the title sequence keeps coming back to these pop culture portrayals of witches that are just so specific and kind of outside of the purview of what like feels authentic to the show, if that makes sense. You know, especially with Lilia and all of her jokes about like, you know, like witch cultural appropriation, which I think is fucking hilarious. But as we enjoy those scenes very much. But yeah, and but like again, once you get to that twist, you go, "Oh my god." It's because these are all the things that are informing Billy's you know, reality warping. And I don't know, did you at any point think that Billy was creating the road? Did that ever hit you as like,
no, not in the
he's
slightest.
pulling a Wanda?
No, not in the slightest. No. Even when Agatha's like, "You're so much like your mother. You're doing, like, you're the first Maximoff to do something interesting." No, didn't have anything. It might be a case of I didn't like have a single like theory thought about this show the entire time. I just sat there and watched it for like the first time in years at this point. So maybe that's why I didn't clock anything, because there's so much. Like even with the whole tarot cards, like you can go back and watch it. You're like, huh, yeah, that's been that through the entire show, and I haven't seen anything. I don't know why I wasn't expecting it either, because like it's the same people as WandaVision, right? There was always something going on that they had to reveal later on. But Billy being in charge of the road, essentially, no.
No, it is so compelling. And again, but like that reversal of like seeing it all from Agatha's perspective, that like it's like it is so fucking good. And I think that if there is one very clever thing that Jack Schaefer and company pulled off here, I think everybody went into this show going, this is going to be all magic and no meta illusion. And that the last vestiges of the meta illusion were Agatha as this hard-boiled cop, right? And which I need to say I loved. I think there's a lot of it's kind of that old adage of like, when you're good at something, it's hard to do it badly on purpose. And I think that with writers who gave us incredible lines of dialogue, like what is grief if not love persisting, being able to then flip a switch and write the corniest, most cliche, hard-boiled lady cop of all time, like, and it gets to such a place of fucking parody where it is kind of overwhelming in the amount of just like, suck my ass, chief.
That's why I don't get people didn't like the first two episodes. Like that entire bit, people like that entire like opening where she's like that. Like people didn't like it. I'm like, oh, do you just not get what they're going for here? Like people go, oh, the acting's so bad. It's like, yeah, that's the point. It's not supposed to be well thought out and well written and like Emmy, Oscars, or whatever. Like it's supposed to be bad and cheesy.
Yeah,
like go from it's literally just one division all over again. Like she's in a TV show. That's what she thinks her world is like.
Yeah, she's in this hard-boiled detective bullshit, and it's incredibly.
Everyone's apparently playing along. Right?
Yeah, and again, that goes to like the trauma of the people of Westview, where they're like, okay, somebody else thinks they're in a TV show, so you're chief, and this is a body, and we're in the woods, and well, fuck it. A fun detail I noticed, because Taylor and I last night into yesterday before the episodes dropped, we did a rewatch.
Oh, that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't get around to it.
And I was so glad that we did. Because all of those little tells were so fresh because of that. About again, like Billy having his Kaiser Soze moment. And something that I really loved is that the intro sequence for like Agnes the cop is using the original version of the road that Nicholas Scratch made. It's just like kind of Johnny Cashified. Like, but like that is such a amazing detail you can only notice retroactively. Is that deep in her subconscious, deep buried in her subconscious is down, down, down the road, down the winding road. I go down the winding road. Like it's the original version of it, buried all the way back in her mind, and that astounded me. Going because like when he first sings that first version in the final episode, I gasped, and Taylor was like, "What?" And I was like, "That's the version from the cop show." So that
not clock that in the slightest. I completely forgot about that opening bit.
Really fucking good.
Well, I'm gonna rewatch it. So I was gonna anyway, but now it's like cemented the fact that no, I have to rewatch the entire thing there.
Yeah, but when it sends a chill down your fucking spine. When it sends a chill down your spine.
No, I was just happy that we got the Witches Road finally. I've been begging for that thing for years. And it's like, bam, it's like, cool. I'm happy. Do whatever you want. I'm happy. Yeah.
So you are you are more familiar with some of the mysticism, especially as it pertains to Scarlet Witch, than I am. So give me like a rundown of the Witch's Road as it is presented in the source.
I mean, it's only had the one run, and that was, I think, the first solo Scarlet Witch run, which was like 2017.
Okay.
Around that time, so it's getting a bit long in the tooth now, but I don't think it's even been brought back up. But it's pretty much what you get here, just not exactly.
Okay.
Like it's from what I remember anyway, because it has been a while. Like
it's like the series of trials in a liminal forest space.
It's definitely a forest, and it's definitely.
Oh, happy Halloween, everybody! A little jump scare for everybody. The lovely Miss Taylor pricked her toe on something that we have no idea what, and it spooked her, and she was right outside the door, and it scared all of us. Her especially.
Poison thimble. There you go.
I hope not. Her toe is bleeding a little bit, so.
No, hopefully it's not a poison thimble.
Yeah.
Is it a thimble? What's the thing? The old spindle thing.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
I couldn't remember if the thimble goes in your thumb when you're sewing, like the old.
No, yeah, it's the thumb thing, and then I don't remember. And this is more embarrassing because Taylor and I are watching the Never After season of Dimension 20, and the thing that puts Sleeping Beauty to sleep is kind of important to that season. But anyway, but no. So here's another question I had with regards to the road, because there's a very specific image of Agatha I pulled up because I remember seeing this look for her where it's like where Agatha is younger than she's typically depicted and kind of like a more armory looking outfit. When is that from? Let me see if I can find it again.
So if you can pull it up, I might be able to tell you, but off the top of my head, I can't think at all. Is it comics or show? I assume comics, right?
Yeah. One moment.
Because Agatha's not had a lot. Right. Well, that's brand new.
This is brand new.
This is at least, I think it's like a year old, or it came out this year.
Okay.
I think. Because I know they've de-aged. They brought it back and de-aged it, obviously, because she's not the old hag. But...
Yeah. Well, I was really interested by like Ghost Agatha's look, because I think it was a really interesting like distillation and kind of like concoction of like classic Agatha and like the old kind of old timey, very almost Victorian looking.
Well, it's what she wears in WandaVision, right?
Her ghost outfit, no. At the end, when she fights Death and her little magic duel, whenever she gets powered back up, then she is wearing her outfit from the end of WandaVision when she fights Scarlet Witch.
I just thought she was wearing the same clothes.
No, it's slightly different, and it's very much like a combination of like vintage Agatha with like the newer look. And I am very excited to get any type of behind the scenes anything to see what that outfit looks like without like the
that's my one problem,
like Force Ghost effect.
Yeah, that's my one problem with that effect. It was the opacity was turned too far down. Just crank it. No, 50% is fine. Like anything lower than that is too much. Like you kind of, especially when we have to have TV shows being as dark as they are. Like if you're gonna have that, have her be brighter and stand out. Like if not,
yeah. I mean, I sincerely think they were trying to avoid a Force Ghost effect because she's
literally have a ghost walking around. Like you can't. Like the Force Ghost thing isn't anything unique, right? Like,
I mean, in terms of like they have a specific glow to them that make them look like
yes,
I don't know. It's the blue.
Force Ghost. It's just blue.
Yeah, it's blue. There's also kind of like like there's very much like a color outline as well.
Yeah, you have
Like
the little spark, yeah. But
like
even then,
there's like
like
the
it's just
sparklies. Like like, and again, like with a show that is so like its whole shtick, like the WandaVision Agatha All Along duology here, that is like cheekily, calling back to and referencing upon like older media and like using those tropes. I don't blame them for trying to not accidentally turn Agatha Harkness into Ben
no, but
Kenobi.
it's still like I don't want to say she's hard to look at because that's not what I mean in the slightest. But it was
Oh no.
like, no in the slightest. But it's just turn it up a bit more. Like
No, I
fuck
no,
your
I
show.
agree
Like
with that.
it's just
I don't mind her opacity. My whole thing is I want to see the suit. Like I don't mind the opacity. I want to see the suit. And there's a part of me that's like, oh, why did she only have to get a new suit when she died? Speaking of suits, Wiccan.
oh, do you know what?
How do you feel about the Wiccan
This
suit?
shows
How do
you
you
how
feel about the Wiccan
this
suit?
shows you how far gone I am out of the whole speculating on cape shit thing. I didn't think he was gonna get anything.
Really?
Even when he had the headband, I was like, they're gonna hold out in the suit. Like at most, he's just gonna have the Halloween costume that they called back to from WandaVision. They're just gonna do that again. That's gonna be his thing. I wasn't expecting full on like volume 2, which in fairness is better than his original suit with the fucking Thor wings. And that shit sucked. But
I I very much like the Wiccan suit as a starting point. And I hope that the next time we see Billy, it is it has a little bit more meat on the bone. Like it is, especially right now, like in terms of like how MCU suits are going, that like everybody at the end of their show or the end of their movie gets a just ridiculously comic accurate suit. We had it with
which
Falcon
apart
and
from
the
the
Winter
headband is
Soldier.
exactly what he has here.
Yeah, and I understand the visual language of keeping him
Oh
with
yeah,
like
the people when that headband first came, people were like, oh, they can't even get that right. It's like you're complaining about literally a block of silver he wears that looks like what's the man the Beskar, right? It's just a
yeah.
bunch of squiggles and squares in it. Like that's all you're complaining about. It's not a headband to get defensive over, right? Like if they want to make it look a bit more uniform with one, that's fine. Right?
Yeah, no, and the visual language there makes a lot of sense to keep it with him having more of like the Wanda crown versus the the headband. I think that makes perfect sense. Um,
If you want the gray headband, watch Naruto. I'm sorry.
Listen, I think there are MCU costume choices that are more worth dying on a hill over than the headband. I think, like,
if you're going to complain about anything on this Wiccan suit, and I understand fully why they haven't done that, is clearly being held back. It's the lack of stars.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that this is like a proto suit that is going to get iterated upon. That I think through some magic gobbledygook, be it in a Young Avengers, be it in even maybe Secret Wars. Like we'll see.
It might even be Doomsday.
Your
There's a whole
Doomsday,
thing
yeah.
of like Doom and Scarlet Witch. Like that's just Children's Crusade, right? Like that is fundamentally a Wiccan and Speed story. Like,
so I think that there is time for him to like have that costume become that. I will say I'm not in love with the cape. Like it looks good on him. And again, it's one of those, I like this as a proto Wiccan suit a lot. Like
yeah,
that.
I'm fine with the cape itself, like the actual dangly bit, fine. Totally fine with. I would have just liked a bit more structure in the hood. It was too floppy. It wasn't a bit. It's too floppy and it wasn't big enough. Just, just a little bit more rigidity.
No, that makes
Just
sense.
like how Wanda has it in end of WandaVision, right? Like there's clearly a shape to the hood. Whereas here, it's just
a hood. I mean, for me with the cape, like, and again, I don't mind it as a proto Wiccan suit. I think it's really cool as like the first version of his suit.
It's straight from the comic. Like, it's apart from like the galaxy and the stars, like it's no different. It's exactly the same.
I mean, but isn't the cape a little bit more flowy? Like, it's for me, like the cape and like the way that like the suit has like its segmenting. Again, like I'm not here to do like the Marvel lines stuff, but like I don't know the way it's
Wiccan
segmented.
suit is literally Marvel lines, yeah. So,
but like it has a lot of the cape. The cape feels a little too tactical in the way that it's very short. It only lines the
was it
shoulders,
short?
and
I can't remember how far down it went.
Yeah, it was like so. Basically, it's like it's bunched up to almost be like more of like a scarf around here.
Yeah,
So it
which
like
is
super.
what
So
it
it
does.
super lines the shoulders, and then it very in like a very asymmetrical way, like casts down to I think like his mid to lower back. And it
No,
almost
it was
and
longer
it's
than
like
that.
it was longer than that. I don't know. It seemed a lot like kind of like a shoulder cape. Like I don't know. I want something a little bit longer and flowier.
If it is that short, then yeah, I agree with you 100%. But
let's look.
And of course, I can't find anything on. Because I think the cape, as the suit went on in the comics, I want to say the cape got longer. I want to say at the start it was
yeah, because I'm looking at him right now. He does have a full cape in the comics, but like this one, and again, I'm not saying it's bad. Like this is just me nitpicking like a great suit, you know.
Because if you look like, I'm just gonna show you my phone. Like there, like it's not long.
No,
right? It's not long in the slightest.
No, but there I like it because again, like it's not long, but it has the symmetry to accommodate it being like a short traveler's cape.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, you know, and again, we're just nitpicking like aesthetics here, and like, you know, if somebody has a cape, I want it to be a flowing, like,
yeah.
Behind
they'll probably do it when he gets the stars, right? So you can have the long cape and you get like the galaxy look, which I'm not holding out that they'll ever do. Like the stars, like that ethereal, I'm clearly part of the universe look that Marvel does so well. But I can, fingers crossed.
We shall see. On the topic of Wiccan, you know, you and I talk about this. Unfortunately, it feels like every time a new Marvel show comes out, and it's just something that needs to be addressed before we forget to. And again, these are one of those situations, multiple things can be true at once. I think everybody here turned in a phenomenal performance. I think, you know, I think Joe Locke is a great pick for Wiccan. Again, it is a character that I am not as familiar with as others, but what I do know, I do think that he is, you know, kind of brought to life in a very good way, and I think that he looks the part, and I think he provides a very compelling performance in this show. The same is obviously fucking true of Patty goddamn Lapone. You know, but again, please, how are we still fucking this up with the casting stuff? Like, come on.
I was thinking about this last night. So I respect the obvious effort he put into that role, and that they put into that role. Like he didn't just fist anything up, but
you know, I think a lot of it becomes more frustrating here than in other instances. You know, again, I do not want to downplay the frustration and frankly the offensiveness I think some of the whitewashing has been in the MCU. You know, I will say till the end of time, I am still not fully convinced that the Anglification of Wanda Maximoff was not in part to distance her from her comic counterpart. To this day, I think that they went out of their way to show like they went so far in delineating her from, even remotely potentially being the child of Magneto, that they tried really hard to be like, oh, and look, she's like Russian Orthodox, whatever.
The Magneto thing's fine. That's nothing to be concerned about.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, when they like go out, when they went out of their way in Civil War to put like all of these crosses and crucifixes all over her corridors, and
that's what I'm defending what they've done with Wanda in the slightest, because that obviously is a problem. But I mean, in fairness, those crosses weren't in the movie. That never made it in.
True.
Which is, the fact that it was still that was still a thing they were going to do.
For sure, and I agree. I'm just saying, like, I don't like it. I do think it is still offensive, and I do think it is still inappropriate. If I were to guess, I think that was a move made to kind of put her comic origins at an arm's length and try to subvert that unintentionally. Like it's the Ancient One conundrum of
I don't think there was any malice behind it, because there was that time where you had Perlmutter, you had Fox, murky rights with the character. We'll use Wanda, you use Pietro, we're gonna do it that way thing that was going on. So it's like, how do we reinvent this character slightly? Sure, they could have kept some things the same. As I was saying, the whole Magneto thing isn't an issue. That wasn't her origin originally anyway.
No, for sure. I understand that. I'm just saying that, like, trying to distance her from her comic heritage, I think, may have been an effort to make sure that Fox had no leg to stand on if they ever tried to change
absolutely,
that.
yeah. 100%.
But they went the wrong way with it. And again, multiple things can be true at once. I think Elizabeth Olsen can have an incredible fucking performance as Wanda Maximoff in the MCU, and over time has become one of the strongest performances in this franchise, period. It is also true.
The most popular character, like, despite having not been on the screen for a couple of years.
It is also true that at the end of the day, Elizabeth Olsen kind of had no business playing this character, especially with a lot of the having to make her unlearn the G slur, and how that was a thing. Stuff like that.
Stuff like that is, it's 10 years ago.
Oh, right? For sure. I'm just saying that, like, there's a lot, like, there is a robust case to be built against a lot of these decisions being made. And I think that a lot of those conversations have been like half heard by Marvel Studios, and it's just one of those things that, like, I want to see done better. Again, like, you and I have talked at length about, I am so down with Robert Downey Jr. as long as he is not playing Victor Von Doom. As long as this is a Tony Stark variant that took on the mantle of Dr. Doom, I'm cool. And whenever Victor Von Doom, busts onto the big screen in the MCU, dear fucking God, please let that be a Romani actor. I don't care if there aren't any you can find. Sarah Haley Finn is too goddamn good at her job for this to have happened.
It's also literally her fucking job.
Yeah, like, you are too good.
It's not down to us to find an actor for them. No.
Yeah.
It's not like Bryan Singer in the Fox movies casting Psylocke.
But
find a Romani actor.
And that's the thing. Like, you have hit it out of the park too many times as a casting director for this one thing to keep presenting itself as an issue. And
it's also weird when we can't get a Jewish kid for this. We can get a Jewish guy for Ben Grimm. We can do it for over here, but not over here. Like, well, why? What's the difference between these?
And it's things? And I think part of I agree with you so much on that. And I'm so glad they got a Jewish actor for Ben Grimm, because I think there were a lot of people who were worried when, again, Oscar Isaac is great in Moon Knight because he's Oscar fucking Isaac. That man can act his ass off. His worst performance is better than some people's best. No business playing, maybe not Apocalypse, but but you had no business being in contention for this role. And I think that some of the frustration
isn't Oscar Isaac Jewish though?
I don't think he is.
I thought he said there's some part of his there's Jewish religion in his family.
I mean, potentially, but at the end of the day, I think it is also still like this is such like again, it's like Ben Grimm, Kitty Pryde, Mark Spector / Stephen Knight / Jake Lockley / all 80 of them, that are all there as like kind of like the trinity of like historically Jewish Marvel heroes.
I mean, I get it. I'm not arguing against that.
I know. You're not.
Oscar Isaac confuses me more ways than one. But the Jewish thing, I've never been able to like pin down and nail.
I don't remember.
Sometimes he goes, "I was raised Christian," and he's like, "Yeah, I got Jewish stuff," and it's like,
yeah. But I think with Wiccan and the thing that I do want to hit on, and I think it's part of why there are people who do legitimately have like a lot of frustrations, is that like they talked so much about the authenticity of Wiccan and how he was portrayed, and like yes, I'm glad you got a gay actor to play.
I'm sure there's also a gay Jewish guy out
there. This like kind of like landmark queer character. There's no way there wasn't like another twink who happened to be Jewish who could have like risen to the occasion of this role. And I think that for me, the reason why it is such an important factor is that like I think it is a matter of rebuilding good faith for the way that a lot of these characters have had their Jewish heritage or their Romani heritage kind of off to the side in the name of fairness. So like I said, I think it's an important thing that deserves being brought up in these conversations. Again, I have so much praise for this show, but I did not want that element to go without discussion.
But it's also that whole Jewish argument thing as well. It led to a lot of bad face stuff just for the character in the show. Like, I don't know if you saw it. There was one guy in the CBC Facebook group who took an interview that Joe Locke had done. Like, I think at the reveal, that the interview came out at the reveal when he has the headband and everything. And despite not saying his name, they all just every marketing bit was like, "Oh, it's Wiccan." But he was talking about his powers, like how they're similar to Wanda, but there's some slight differences. And they're like, "Oh, it's not even Wiccan; it's an original character." It's like, no, like it's fundamentally what Wiccan does. Like, what he's saying is right. Like, I know you don't want to like it for this one specific reason. That one specific reason is legitimate enough, but
and again,
being a bit of a dickhead about it. Like, just shut up.
Again, multiple things can be true at once. I think it is possible to go, this is culturally offensive, and there is a very valid level of outrage for people to have that I am never going to argue with somebody over frustrations about the the stripping of like the heritage of these characters, especially when the one fucking time that it seems like they're really committing to a character having their Jewish heritage. It's a fucking Zionist in a goddamn Captain America movie. Like, the one time you guys actually put your whole ass into it, it is in the worst possible way at the worst possible time. And the way that is fundamentally humiliating. But all of that said, which is very important, and I do want that to stand as the kind of official stance of Teen App, and I know that is shared over in CBC land. That said, I do want to talk about the Lilia episode. I said it on Twitter when the episode aired, getting to rewatch it. I think that might be one of the best single episodes of MCU television yet.
I 100% agree. That was phenomenal.
Like, that stands alongside both of the Loki finales. Is just on a new level of like, yes. And again, it's those little bits that, I think Jack Schaefer did an incredible job at, finding what was so good about WandaVision, and what was so good, but also like so engaging for the audience, was finding the little details, finding the little cracks in the kind of glamour in front of us to try to start connecting the dots as to what exactly is happening. And I think Jack Schaefer took that and iterated upon it in such a way where it was, okay, here are all these details hidden in plain sight. Let's literally have a character who will just yell about the ending of their story throughout the show and then build to that and, you know, give us that payoff and just absolutely beautiful storytelling. You know, I saw, yeah, if I could tell you the name of the creator, I would. I can't even remember if it was a TikTok or a tweet, but somebody who had a very compelling analysis where they were talking about how, in many ways, Agatha All Along is it's a story about queer identity and the importance of, like, you know, of like the elders in that community, you know, of, you know, like the one of the most like bittersweet things I've ever read online was that was like the first time it went around talking about like, I love seeing gay old people because it's like you have been here for so long and have lived through so many different versions of the LGBT community being demonized that you have come out the other end so authentically yourself and who you are and the beauty in that. And I think that Lilia, like using that lens to view Agatha as a story of, you know, of queerness and accepting and, you know, going through those trials of having to accept yourself and validate yourself and then hoping that those you care about validate you in turn and how you have to contend with that not being the case. Like the queer subtext is barely subtext and verges on text here. And
Oh.
and I mean, again, and again, most of the characters in this show are just openly queer between Billy, Agatha, Death, you know, whatever. But this idea of
just talk to a straight woman. Fantastic line.
Oh, so good. And so much of this dialogue only works because of Catherine Hahn. Again, those are one of those situations where like her line delivery is so superb.
You have to write for the actor you have as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do want to hone in on like Catherine Hahn's different modes in this show next. But Lilia's sacrifice, like it is so, it's so beautiful, it's so breathtaking just viewing it as at face value. But then using that queer analysis, you know, it is the elder who is like laying down their well-being, knowing that the next generation is going to be able to pick up somewhere stronger, a little safer down the road, and no pun intended. And
I was just about to go the witches, right?
But no, it's so beautiful. That episode is
also works a lot for like dementia, Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
As well, the whole skipping around time and not knowing specifically where you are at any given moment. But
yeah, and like reclaiming the personhood there. You know, like I know like we culturally have done a lot of making fun of the very idea of somebody being, you know, battling dementia because of the current presidential campaign.
I mean, if you can't open a door in a garbage truck, what are you doing?
Yeah, you know, like between Biden and between Trump, you know, that we all have always talked about is like, you know, so, this person's clearly in decline and like, and talking about it in kind of a dehumanizing way. Now, granted, these are people with the fucking nuclear launch codes who, you know, and one of them, you know, I think there's a few things scarier than a senile dictator. But you know, at the end of the day, I think that those are one of those situations that, as cliche as it is to say, like for every dementia joke you make about Biden or Trump, I'm saying that you shouldn't, because they should be held to a higher standard of well-being for our own safety. They don't hear that the people around you who know that they have a battle with that on the horizon hear it. You know, and the dehumanizing way we use those terms. And it is very complicated. And I think that this, as you said, this depiction where it is Lilia's ability to like experience time so non-linear in such a non-linear fashion, it is one of the things that save all of their lives. And it is seeing the way that so many of the trials that they go through are rooted in a reclamation of what makes them them, that I also find incredibly beautiful. You know, it is Lilia, you know, because so often, like because you see the way that she is very cheaply commodified her gifts in the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know, that she is that you know, she's leaning into a lot of tropes that also go towards the conversation we had earlier, like depictions of Romani shit. That, but you know, she's leaning into all of these tropes, like, you know, like she's going, oh, someone's speaking to you, bowling bag in the closet. You know, we're like, but she's also the same person who's talking about, like, we don't wear pointy fucking hats, we don't eat goddamn babies, where's my third nipple, motherfucker? Like, you know, like where she gets up in arms, like talking about these ideas, but you see her at the very beginning of the story, she is engaging in all of that.
But it's her right to engage in there. Right?
It's her right to engage in it, but I'm just saying that, like, she takes such umbrage with it, but she is also kind of like sold her culture down the river in some ways, where she is like, and unsuccessfully, you know, because again, she has an eviction notice on her little shop. So like we see that she has unsuccessfully kind of like commodified her gift in a way that where she's trying to serve, where she in a very self-serving way trying to commodify it. It's falling apart, and it's in moments of her committing to using it in a way that is not easy for the people around her to experience or understand, in a way that is, you know, frightening for her. She's able to reclaim it and use it in such a way that it, you know, turns the tide. You know, I was not fully convinced that the Salem 7 was defeated by Lilia. I was like, at
no,
most,
because you only see 5 of them die. There's only 5 of them in that room, and then Rio's like, "Oh, you defeated the Salem 7." It's just like, but where's 2? There's 2 more.
Yeah, and I think the Salem 7 was a little undercooked. That's
they're just there, right?
They're just kind of there, and again, like it's one of those situations where it's like, part of me's like, oh, like the Salem 7 kind of is a non-issue for almost this entire show.
They are also a non-entity in the comics.
Sure, I was
no
like,
one
but
should be ever up in arms about the Salem 7.
It feels really undercooked in the show, but it leads to such a beautiful payoff with Lilia's sacrifice that I don't care. You know, and again, because again, I was like, oh, like Lilia's buying them time, which again was part of that in my interpretation of that like queer analysis of like, I can hold them at the gate just long enough for you to advance enough that you can actually fight them on more level footing.
Yeah.
So like when we get to the next episode and it's like, oh, Lilia single-handedly bodied the Salem 7 with the tower reversed. Incredible, absolutely remarkable stuff.
That episode probably had some of the best shots Marvel's ever done.
Oh yeah.
No, it was just so good. Like, it's just the opening alone where it's still blacked out, but it's just her falling down. Like, so good. So good.
Yeah, really, really incredible stuff. And, you know, Patti LuPone is a legend. Y'all don't need me to tell you that. But it's really nice when you get these legendary actors who show up and like fucking work.
Yeah.
You know, like
it's not just that. Oh, it's the money. No. The money probably played a part in it. I know.
Oh, I'm sure the money got her to come to the table.
Yeah,
but when she
showed self-respect
up,
enough to like actually not Nicolas Cage your career.
Yeah, I mean, well, Nick Cage also was like dealing with a lot of debt and shit, and he showed up and he worked. But
working's a stretch for a lot of his movies, but
sure. But I mean, the same can be said about like Robert Redford. You know, like granted, Alexander Pierce, like he doesn't have like he isn't the most compelling villain in the Marvel mythos, or in the MCU mythos, but like he shows up and he gives a damn about that role. Came back for Endgame to still like show up and like
the man unretired himself. Like,
yeah, it's stuff like that where you get these living legends to show up and just clean house. And with how magnetic Catherine Hahn is in this role, it is astounding to see somebody be able to steal the spotlight from her, not in like a a spotlight hog type way, but like steal the show and steal scenes, and that's true of the entire coven. I'm curious. I look forward to seeing Sashir Zameda in more dramatic roles because I think there's something there. I think her. I don't. I think Sam. Think she may have had the weaker writing of the coven. It's a little quippy, but like because I had moments I'm like I really want to like this character, and she, again, no pun intended, she absolutely soars at the very end. Like the unbinding ritual,
that was
like the unbinding ritual, her escaping the road, like again, like having a death and rebirth for her, where she emerges from the ground and takes flight, like that, like those moments. That was the moment I was fully sold on her, where I was like, okay, I want to see you do stuff outside of comedy now. Because I think she is unfortunately kind of relegated to a comedic relief role for a lot of it. And I think her character would have worked a lot more if they allowed her to be a little bit more solemn. But
a little bit more Salem.
Jesus fucking Christ. Also the protection witch. Oh fuck. I was about to say her name and I lost it the moment I opened my mouth. Hold on.
Oh, I can't remember her name.
I opened my mouth and I lost it.
I hate that.
Absolutely. Alice. That's the one. Alice Wu Gulliver. Yeah. Another really just compelling, this is another instance where like Jack Schaefer, I think, is able to pack so much like pathos into a character.
And she gets a lot out of the actors as well.
Yes. Yes, she gets so much out of them. Which it's very impressive in the same way that like WandaVision, incredibly, like you had like WandaVision is such a fascinating 50-50 split of it is so entertaining of a show where you get to enjoy at face value all of the genre bullshit. You have your Brady Bunch stuff, which is a lot of fun. You have your Ed Sullivan, whatever, like the black and white stuff. There is so much charm in there that works so well that it's almost like a reverse shot chaser relationship, where it's like you accidentally had the chaser and then took the shot. Where then it comes through with all of this emotion, all of this humanity, and it is so tragic while also contending with just the fun and whimsy of, like, hey, it's Malcolm in the Middle week, and here's the Halloween special, and here's Wanda looking fucking incredible in Halloween. And I don't thirst for celebrities, but Halloween Wanda, whoo, damn. But like, again, you pack so much. There's so much emotion and humanity packed into every scene that Jack Schaefer, I think, is particularly talented at doing. And it's true of the entire coven. Like, I truly don't think that a single one of these folks is underdeveloped.
Not
like
at all.
Yeah, and I think that's very impressive considering, you have this is the spiritual successor to WandaVision that is teeing up a crucial member of the Young Avengers, that is wrapping up the story of what became a fan favorite character, having to somehow straddle the line between not just flanderizing Agatha while also allowing her to maintain her sinister gleefulness. Like, like this show kind of operates on a very fragile balance of having to very painstakingly keep a lot of things on the rails, and there's a lot of things cooking all at once. I think Jack Schaefer did an incredible job of making sure that not a single character felt undercooked, and maybe that came at the cost of the Salem 7 just being jobbers for Lilia to sacrifice herself against. And like I said, you're not going to hear me complain about that at all.
No.
But
The only complaint I will have with
yeah,
this show is I don't understand what their plan is for Dottie.
what do you
Because
mean?
Dottie is a witch. In the comics, she's I can't remember her name right now, but she's a witch. There's a reason why they focus on the yellow flowers, and why Agatha has purple flowers, and why Wanda has red flowers. It's like you keep bringing Dottie back, and I legitimately thought in the flashback in the finale that first girl that showed up was Dottie. It's like I couldn't tell at the start. Like looking at Rio, it's like how they done Aubrey Plaza there, where she looked slightly younger and a bit more rounder in the face. I genuinely thought that was Dottie. And then she starts using yellow magic. I'm like, it is Dottie, but then she dies. And it's like, well, it can't be Dottie.
Do you think that maybe they're teeing it up that like Dottie might become an antagonist for
I don't
Billy
know.
and Tommy?
I don't know.
Because I could see an angle where you take it where it's like she has been caught in the periphery of so much magic nonsense. And has been caught in the crossfire of it so many times that now she's like, okay, fuck this. I'm going on the attack, and I'm never going to allow this to happen again. And I'm going to go after the children of Wanda Maximoff to make sure that this can never happen again.
It'd be cool if they did something like that. I don't know if they will, but part of me was expecting her to be part of the Coven.
Yeah, I didn't know that was Dottie's comic origin, so I'm surprised that they put Mrs. Davis in there.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I'm not going to complain.
But I also understand, like
but
like Deborah Jo Rupp, like it's fun, and she has a lot of very funny moments in her limited time. So okay, that's fun. I like that.
That's the only thing I would personally have changed is I would have put Dottie in the Coven.
That's so funny. One maybe the last thing here, I just want to talk about. I do really want to give Catherine Hunter flowers. There are like modes of Agatha, and that is very like, how do I put this? I think in the hands of a lesser actor with a screenplay not as tight as it is here.
Yeah.
Agatha kind of switching on a dime as often as she does would feel like you're watching somebody who's being written by somebody who doesn't quite know how to make them work.
No, I get you.
And can't decide on whether or not we want Agatha to be redeemed or not. But the way that Agatha incredibly so let me give an example, because talking through the example I think will be the best way to explain this. When she accidentally kills Alice, there is when she like comes out of like the power absorption trance, she comes to and is horrified by what just happened, because she did not mean to do that and she did not want to do that.
No.
But she killed her. And she's disgusted by that. And she runs away from it. And has her moment to run away and be full of dread. And Agatha as a character is so beautifully depicted as somebody who is incapable of accepting responsibility because she's afraid of it. That the moment Billy comes back onto the road and is like, hey man, what the fuck? The way that she is able to then pivot those emotions and then bury the grief and guilt with doing what she knows best, And that is just being so deliciously sinister in the way that she starts, talking crazy at Billy and maintains that. And like that, like, again, there is within a lesser performance that would feel so disjointed, but it feels so organic and it feels so true to her character that she would be like, fuck, fuck, fuck. What did I do? What did I do? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, he's here. Oh, hey, you're so much like your mother. Like, and again, like, it is such a shift. It is such a wild shift because because there's kind of like fun bitchy Agatha, where she's where she's just kind of being like a little, she's being this like little messy whatever, just kind of like with the quips and everything. But then there's like malicious Agatha, which is like the next step away from the kind of like fun, almost flirty kind of way that she is, again, she's demeaning to most people, but like there's a silliness there. There's a fun to the way she's doing it. That is not present with the "you're so much like your mother." Like, it is all malice. It is all malice in that moment that is immediately traded in for absolute terror. That also exists in concert in the way that she is bugging the fuck out when Billy gets wounded by that shard of glass in his gut.
Yeah.
That like they're like that supreme like help him out, and she's freaking the fuck out. He comes to, and then she immediately shuts that off. That like it is the modality of Agatha Harkness that I think makes Catherine Hahn's performance so compelling, because
100%.
it does truly feel like somebody who is at constant odds with the freedom with which they will allow themselves to express their emotions, because of the way that it could let people in, and I think it goes to showing Agatha as sympathetic, but not cleaning up her act. This whole understanding that like the Witch's Road became this vehicle with which she was able to garner power. She has this distrust of her own coven. If there's one criticism I have that I wish they leaned into a little bit more, it would have been the idea that like Agatha was buying time for Nicholas Scratch. I mean, I think you can infer it, but I wish they leaned into this idea more of Agatha's agreement with death was, I will give you an excess of bodies to make up for the one that you are allowing me to keep.
Yeah.
And the idea that Nicholas, as he was getting sick and as he was starting to feel, the obvious childlike guilt of this situation, that they stopped and they weren't delivering and rent was due. And that it was Nicholas's mercy that was rubbing off on Agatha that let them stop for a long enough time that Death was like, okay, I need to collect. And I think that would have made that more tragic. I think that's just like one little detail. I think that's one little detail that if you add that in, Agatha's like now centuries long rampage, I don't want to say it feels more justified, but but again, there's a truth to it that I understand, where it's like, if I ever slow down, I can be overcome. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I am untouchable after that. And that's just like the one little thing that I was like, I wish they made that explicit, that it was like, or have like an extra scene where it's Rio telling Agatha, like, you need like you have not given me bodies to make up for Nicholas in like a month, 2 months. Something's got to give here.
Yeah.
And Agatha being like, we'll get him, chill. And then Billy, sings the Witch's Road at that tavern. And then, he chokes and he's like, I'm not doing it. And he's like, we'll kill more witches tomorrow, mother. And it's like, and that inability to tell him no, that like, no, like I have to do this for you. And that it's mercy rubbing off on Agatha. And I think it gives Agatha a little bit more payoff, where again, she never stops being evil.
No.
But she has a little bit more of that humanity to look at Billy and go, yeah, I get it. you and my son were right about Mercy, but I can't quite get there myself, but I'm glad you can. But yeah, Agatha All Along, really good shit. I never want to hear anybody say the MCU is dead ever again.
No, they've been 4 for 4 this year. I don't think they're going to go 9 for 9. I'm not going to go 5 for 5 this year. I can tell you that right now.
Because we still got What If. I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen season 2 of What If yet.
I'm not going to see season 3 either. So
I wanted to. It's just my day job is in retail, and dropping like an episode of a show once a day leading up to Christmas is a little inconvenient for me.
All I know
he said knowing that Skeleton Crew might end up having an episode release on both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
All I know is that if you have grief and you have trauma and your name starts with an A, you're all good in my book. It took him a second.
No, it didn't. It didn't. It didn't actually take me a second.
Yeah, you could physically see the little click.
It was a frustration click.
Something still clicked.
Anyway. So anyway,
also one thing just to end it off on a proper note. I kind of wish we got an actor for Tommy reveal.
Yeah.
In this, I so desperately wanted to see Tommy at the end. I get why, he still got what he wanted anyway. It doesn't matter. But I just wanted to see Tommy.
Just keeping more of the mystery alive, which I appreciate.
Like, even if it's not like the actor's face, just like have this kid wake up. Like, just carry that scene on for 5 seconds. Because right now we don't even know if it really actually worked.
I think it did.
I mean, I think it obviously did, but there's no body, right? We don't know.
About one other tiny little nitpick. Give me my goddamn post-credit scenes back.
You know what? I'm fine with that.
I'm a little Marvel Mark. Just give me my post-credit scenes, please.
I'll be mid-credit, sure. Post-credit, I think we're past that.
I mean, mid-credit, sure. I mean, yeah, like after like the fancy credits for TV, credits. Like get through your big orchestration and your fancy animated graphics, and then little button. That's all.
Folks, also, this multiverse saga, I'm gonna say it. I said it on Twitter. I'm gonna say it again. Should have focused on the abstracts. Death should have been a massive part of this entire phase, like chaos, order, infinity, entropy, eternity, all that stuff should have been the focus.
But I don't disagree with you.
We have death now, though, so that's fine.
We do have death, and that's a lot of fun. And you know what, Thanos? I get it.
It's not even his entire motivation in the comics, but it's the one people know. So,
I mean, it's fun to make a joke about.
I mean, it is, but it's like when you got I can't think of the guy who made Thanos. Oh, what's his name? Fuck.
Sterling. What's the first name?
Yeah, I want to say Sterling. Anyway, when you got him being like, they kept my motivation in for the movies, and everyone just doesn't give a shit what he says. It's like, come on, it's right there. But that's not him.
Hold on. Jim Starlin.
That's the one, yeah.
I put a G at the end. But folks, if you're watching this today, it comes out. Be sure to double back and watch Darth Plagueis versus the Stranger. Like I said, it's a little fun sampling for our patrons, or for people who aren't patrons quite yet. And if you like what you see there, you can subscribe at the $5 tier of our Patreon and get access to a massive back catalog of Star Wars versus episodes. I know Mitch is excited to watch Plagueis versus the Stranger. It's very fun. There's a moment, I got to shout out Eli. He made me laugh my ass off last night because he started watching it early because Patreon. And I want to get his exact verbiage because it made me laugh so much. Oh, great. I'm just now finding out apparently there's a massive technical difficulty with the YouTube version. So he knows how much I get up in arms about people not understanding Mace Windu as a character.
Yeah.
To which he texted me, I just got to the part where you mentioned wanting to explain the internet, how Vapad works. Watch out, or watch the fuck out. Sometime soon, I'm on a StreamYard. I'm going to use the phrase superconducting loop and activate you like the goddamned Winter Soldier. And that is very true because none of you fuckers understand Mace Windu, and I'm tired of it. But you can check that out. Allegedly, there might be an issue where the screen goes black at like an hour and 17.
Nice. I
But
love when that happens. Don't
understand why that happened, but you know what? You can just listen to it at that point. But you can go ahead and check that out, and then you can also check out the Bombcast Creepypasta tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. I have a story in there. A lot of people do. Very excited for it. 5 years running now. I've been the guest for each one, and I'm excited to celebrate Halloween with all of you nerds. So be sure to catch us over there. Check out Mitch at the Mitch692 YouTube channel, as well as Comic Book Cast. We are wrapping up our coverage of Neon Genesis Evangelion in the next 2 weeks here. And I'm very excited about it. Friday is the last movie, and then next week will be our kind of decompression session episode.
Goodbye, all of Evangelion.
Goodbye, Evangelion. So
1.0
be sure
plus
to check that out.
plus 3.0 plus 4.0 plus 5.0 plus 6.0 plus 7.0
plus
plus
tuna
7.0.
Sandwich and foot fungus. Fuck you.
Well,
all.
that's just stupid. No. Feel bad. Why'd you take your teeth? It was a perfectly good joke. You just had to ruin it.
As I said, if you want to support the show, you can support us by chucking in $1 on our Patreon.
Give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus Paco, going by Elfrona, because oldies and goodies, and Ray Clausen. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us. Have a happy and safe Halloween, and class dismissed. And I lost the cookie cop clip. Oh God, he's there!
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar.